So we gotta talk about Chris Pratt again, don't we?
Yeah. Chris Pratty. Big
How did this
Garf.
happen again? How does this happen again so quickly?
Big Garf.
Big Garf, that's what they call him.
Big Garf.
Big Garf
Hell,
consuming
man.
all the roles in entertainment.
Big
They
Garf.
have to be stopped.
That shit is hell, bro.
What do you guys think is next? Is Mario, Garfield? Where else is who else is Chris Pratt coming for?
Minions.
Kevin.
Yes. He can be Kevin, Stewart, and Bob.
Kevin.
Every
And then he can be
minion.
Gru.
Every minion is now voiced by Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Fucking Garfield, man. Like I was talking to my roommate about it, and like we were both like running around the apartment like headless chickens just based off the fact that they got Chris Pratt to be Garfield, and he was saying like, oh, they could have just called Bill Murray again. I said, fam, Bill Murray's not gonna do it again.
Yeah, they could not have called Bill Murray
They
again.
couldn't have called Bill Murray again.
Bill Murray joined that movie under false pretenses. He had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, now I'm pretty sure he reads every spelling of the word Cohen extremely closely now. I told him, I said, if they were going to pick anybody from that Mario cast, they should have just got fucking Charlie Day, son. That would have been like a nasty ass like Garfield.
That's not bad.
Like a Charlie
You know
Day.
what?
Yeah.
You know what would be rad if Joel Cohen and Bill Murray got together and made a Garfield movie, like the real Joe Cohen from the Coen Brothers, and was like, all right, this misunderstanding, this misunderstanding, we gotta set it right, and then we got a Coen Brothers Garfield movie starring Bill Murray. Honestly, Bill Murray should be. Why isn't Bill Murray in any Coen Brothers movies? That seems like.
He was too traumatized from the first
Yeah,
time.
at that point, they probably asked him later. He was like, I ain't falling for this shit again. He just didn't bother. It's fucked up though, man. Big Garf. I don't. I said it on Twitter already, but I feel like I would excuse everything about the new Garfield movie if they don't make his fucking mouth move when he talks. That
Yeah. You were saying that.
Yeah,
It's all his monologue.
exactly. He doesn't. Garfield isn't a fucking talking cat. And like for the past 20 years, they acted like he was. Garfield doesn't speak. John can't hear him. You know what I mean? Like it's literally just all in his head. So yeah, and then like for the past like 20 years since the 2000s, pretty much, like after Garfield and Friends, like they just kind of gave up on that artistic choice and just like made him open his mouth and shit. But
Right.
I mean, like the other ones, what are those? Like fuck. Not just Pet Force though. What are the other movies? Gets Real, Garfield Gets Real, and what? There's one other one.
I don't know. I haven't watched
The
Garfield.
Tale of Two Kitties.
No,
That's the sequel, right?
the CG ones, not the CG live action ones. Like just the.
I think it was a sequel to Pet Force, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I know. So for Garfield Gets
Garfield's
Real,
Fun Fest, is that it?
Yes,
okay, yeah, that's
that's
the one
the
I haven't
one.
seen. Okay, that's the one I haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Pet Force. I've only seen Garfield Gets Real, but I know in Garfield Gets Real, it's like this weird Roger Rabbit thing where Garfield is a comic strip character and they do it like in real time. Like they go to set and they pose and like take pictures to do the comic strip and shit.
Right.
And
I'm looking at
something
this
really
now.
convoluted happens and Garfield gets sent into the real world. And when he does, he's a fucking talking cat. And I remember that as a kid being like, why is his fucking mouth moving? And nobody seemed to give a fuck. Like they did that Garfield show.
Yeah, you know that.
That shit was a ride.
If they did it without his mouth moving, you know, people will be like, "Why isn't his mouth moving?"
yeah, I get. But man, I don't know, man.
I agree with you. I think that's what they should do.
But
I also could see people being like, "Why are they doing that?"
Yeah, I know. You ever, Deli? You ever see that animation mistake they make in that Garfield show? It's so fucking.
You have to be
bizarre.
more specific. There's like one every other episode.
Nah, but there's one in particular that I don't think has ever happened in fucking animation before, where for one shot they forgot to like fully render it or finish animating it.
Oh yeah,
and like you could just see like all the test shit, and it's like the background disappears.
I remember this. Yeah,
it's so fucking bizarre.
That
like
shit
and it
was
aired
crazy.
on TV. Yeah,
Yeah.
that shit is nuts.
That's wild. it's wild that I'm looking through all these other movies, and like other than the 2 theatrical ones, the rest are written by Jim Davis. That's wild. I had no idea he was like the one writing all of these.
He really Charles Schultz it for a while. You know what I mean? And the those first Garfield specials are fucking great. They're like directed by Bill Melendez and Phil Roman. So like there's like Peanuts DNA in there, but like they create a lot of rules specifically for Garfield. And they also which is I thought was a great touch, and I think it's Here Comes Garfield. I think that's actually the first one, but
I think that is the first one. Yeah,
they got fucking Lou Rawls to do Garfield's theme song.
He did like a lot of those 80s and 90s special intros for Garfield. I think he did them until rad. They're so good.
Yeah, they're really fucking good.
Yeah.
I gotta watch more Garfield. I watched some. I don't even remember. I think I watched Garfield and Friends that show as a kid.
That show's funny.
And that was. And I think that's like really the only Garfield I ever watched.
You need to watch 9 Lives first to really ingratiate yourself into the lore. You got to do it. It's the only way.
Don't fucking listen to him. Do y'all remember that day? Because I think it happened in that server. I just got really drunk one day, and I came home, and I asked him. I said, "Anybody got fucking Garfield and Friends?" And somebody sent me like the entire series of Garfield and Friends, and I just wanted to watch one episode. And like I don't know why I got so drunk, and in the car I was like, "I'm gonna go home and fucking watch Garfield and Friends." And then I did it. And that's the thing, man. I use my resources for a lot of stupid shit because like. There's so much shit I could ask for, but I want to watch Garfield and Friends because I'm off the tequila. That's what I'd rather do.
Friends are there.
Show.
That's exactly what they're there for.
It was definitely Friends are there. Yeah, exactly, Deli. I think this is a good place to cue the theme song.
All right, yeah, fuck you, Chris Pratt.
I've been watching them for years, it's always been something that fit with all the animated characters that's doing their own bits. With a fry who's in the future and a family guy that sucks. With a father from a hill, a burger family runs them up. The show inspires is the same guy, except he totally say and diverse.
Let's watch cartoons that
yeah, that's bananas.
As rough.
What the f is up, everybody? Welcome to Cartoons That Curse, the podcast about cartoons that say swear words. My name is Johnny. I'm your co-host here with my other co-host, Tariq. Tariq, how are you today?
I'm all right. Yeah, looking at Recess all day today, but I'm all right.
Yeah. You're sitting inside enjoying Recess.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's fucking daunting, man.
Well, we've got a great guest. We're actually going to do something a little different for the first time ever for this podcast. We're going to do a little mini-series residency. We're gonna have this guest on for every episode while we talk about this show.
That's right.
And you may know our guest as the Wacky Deli, everyone's favorite cartoon analyzing cartoon dog. Deli, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. How about y'all?
Good.
Breathing, man. You know.
That's how it be.
I'm sorry, that was really. This is going to be a cozy episode, you guys.
I think this is a good show to be cozy, though. This is like a cozy show.
It is.
It is a cozy show.
We're just doing this off the cuff, just like they did this season of home movies.
Oh, dude, yeah, we'll get into it.
So we are here to talk about home movies, which is a fun. It's a unique show. I can't think of any other show like home movies. It was created by Brendon Small and Lauren Bouchard. Brendon Small would go on to create Metalocalypse. Lauren Bouchard would go on to create Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers obviously is massively successful, and Metalocalypse has a huge cult fan base. And recently they announced that they're going to do like a finale movie finally after years. So that's cool. Good for them. And the show mostly aired on Adult Swim, but it started on UPN in 1999, taking it all the way back to 99. One of the reasons we have Deli on today is because they made one of my favorite videos on YouTube, a retrospective on home movies. Yes. I don't remember clicking a video faster than when I saw that notification.
I don't remember scratching anything out of my notes faster because I damn sure was going to do a fucking home movies video before that came
out. Deli beat you to it.
Yeah, Deli's at it again, man. It's not the first time this happened, I don't think.
I remember we talking about it, and I was like, oh, I might do home movies. And you were like, nah, you can have it. They'll do it like a year after you.
Yeah, that's true. That sounds like something I would say because of how I believe I handle my production. I wasn't going to stifle you.
I want to make it, but I probably won't for a while.
Yeah, that is a lot. Deli knows. I'm so fucking flaky when it comes to I'm going to do this next. And then you wake up and the weekend is just posted. Like, that's just kind of how I roll.
I'm about to leak all the video ideas you've been floating around the past 2 years.
So yeah, this first season of Home Movies is a little, I mean, it's funny because the show Home Movies changes over the course of its life, even though it always feels very Home Movies to me. It evolved depending on the circumstances surrounding it. This first season was animated in Squiggle Vision, which I don't know what else. I haven't watched much else that's been animated in Squiggle Vision. What else was there? I guess Dr. Katz, right?
Dr. Katz.
Science Court, if you were around for it.
Yeah.
I think
Science
you were a little
Court,
too old for it. Yeah.
Never saw
they
Science
showed it,
Court.
When they didn't have enough Magic School Bus tapes to last a class. Because that one was pretty funny too, and it shares a lot of the same cast.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it used Squiggle Vision, which, a lot of people will watch it and think, what the hell? This looks like I'm drunk. Like everything's squiggling. I like it. It's got like such a charm, this first season with its Squiggle Vision.
Man, I used to hate it when I was a kid. Like whenever these came on, I didn't watch these. I always watched 2 to 4.
2 to 4 when they moved to Flash.
Yeah, but I like this too. I like these two.
Right. Yeah, I do too. And then like the other interesting thing about this season is so much of it is like they would map out an episode and then the scenes were kind of improvised. Deli, you're the expert, so stop me if I'm wrong. But they would kind of go off the cuff, and as a result, a lot of these writing credits are just all of the actors' names, which is kind of cool. But yeah, its history is interesting. It started on UPN. Deli, do you have any info on what its life on UPN was like? Why it got canceled after only 5 episodes on UPN? I know you went into detail about that stuff in your video.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty simple. UPN, they were in a different headspace. I think they had like come off the heels of like doing a couple other animated series, and their priorities kind of shifted, and they were like, we need more cartoons. I specifically remember Dilbert being the kind of bar that home movies would have to surpass. They were passed around like Dilbert ice sculptures around UPN. Like it was that fanatical. But they gave home movies like 5 episodes. And I mean, they don't exactly specify like, oh, did they order more and they just cut it? Because the nature of the show, made the turnaround so quick. It's about 3 to 5 weeks to produce an episode from start to finish.
That's wild.
So they kind of could play it fast and loose, and those 5 episodes, despite whatever kind of quality they had, they just kind of sunk to the bottom of the ratings charts.
Yeah.
They were definitely not game changers, especially considering the way UPN like advertised them. They were kind of putting all their eggs in that basket.
Right.
They were kind of treating it like they knew it was going to be new Family Guy or something. You know, they gave it so much guff only for like 14 people to watch it collectively over 5 episodes. So they were like, so you know, funny. They were pretty good. And I mean, they gave them 5 episodes. That's 4 more than most people would. But, you know, when they were done, they were done.
And so the crazy thing is those episodes, those first 5 aired in like April and May of 99. And then it didn't come back. And then it eventually got saved by Adult Swim, but it didn't come back till September of 2001.
Right.
Which is a long time. Like, did they, do you know if they were like, did they just think they were done forever for that whole time? Or were they working, did it take them that long to figure out how to get it picked up somewhere else? Or was it kind of just a random thing where they thought the show was dead and Adult Swim was like, hey, we kind of want to take this on?
I'm sure Home Movies was just kind of something that they were ready to kind of shelve. I assume it's like the trunk novel of Lauren Bouchard works, because the show was created through his employer, because Lauren Bouchard, you know, he was picked up by like an old elementary school teacher, and that teacher was doing like computer graphics and things, and he had him join his animation studio in the 80s or 90s. And, so he was on board for things like Dr. Katz and Science Court and things. You know, he was working at the studio involved. And I'm sure they considered it kind of like a failed experiment, and they kind of just pushed it aside. And they had the opportunity and the resources to kind of revisit it again when Adult Swim found it, and they were like, you know, giving it a full 13 episode like season.
Yeah. And then not only that, but it was the like literal first program to ever air on Adult Swim, right?
Right. It's the first on the schedule.
That's pretty cool. That's it's the only show that can say that. That's pretty neat. And also just to be saved after like a year and a half. And then also on top of that, you know, like it was the show that couldn't live up to Dilbert and then ended up outliving Dilbert significantly, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's so interesting. Obviously, when they came back, the one big change is like no Paula Poundstone playing Brendon's mom anymore. Was that like a creative difference thing, or did she just not want to do it afterwards, or did they recast her on purpose, or what was the deal with
it? Wasn't really her thing, so she kind of just walked off, and Cartoon Network was like, you got to replace her. I think they're probably going to write out Brendon's mom entirely, if I'm correct. If they didn't just like replace her, Paula was a kind of a non-entity in the context of the show, but considering what they did with her later, obviously she is pretty good asset to the show.
I love Paula, and I quite like Paula Poundstone's performance as her too. Like, I think there's some really funny stuff in the first 5 episodes with her, but I love the voice actress who replaces her. What's her name again? Shoot, I always forget.
Janine DiTilio, I believe.
Yes, she's really good. But it is also kind of funny that like so many of these characters are named after the people playing them.
That's pretty good. So, yeah.
Brendon Small is literally played by Brendon Small. John McGurk, John Benjamin. Melissa is played by Melissa Bardengalski. So like and then you just got Paula Poundstone, clearly named after Paula Poundstone. But
it does get confusing after a while, because like some of them have different name spellings. Like Brendon Small, I think he spells his name with an O, and then the character spells it with an A or something like that.
It might be the other way around, but
yeah, Probably. I can't keep
if it's not the other way around. Either way, you're right. There's an O and an A. I noticed that too. Either character spells it differently. I'm not sure. Either person.
Right.
That shit. I think the fact that they're like everybody's like named after each other is like really good because like it when they fucking improvise, they're just fucking talking to each other.
True.
Like they don't have to memorize a character's name and like fuck up and like call them. You know what I mean?
That's true.
You say Brendon, you're talking to Brendon. You know, I think that's good.
It is also funny though, looking at the list of characters of the show, because it'll say like Brendon Small played by Brendon Small, but then Brendon Small also played a bunch of like side characters. So you've got the main character's name as playing other characters in the show on like the Wikipedia. It just says Brendon Small a billion times up and down the thing.
It's meta. It's got layers to it.
It's got layers. I really like Brendon Small. Obviously, the other thing that I feel like he brought to the table here was like a lot of the musical aspect, which he would go on with Metalocalypse to continue on because he's a big music guy. But I love the music in this show. I like the music that Dwayne plays is always great, but also just the little riffs in between scenes are so catchy.
They are, yeah. They're like melted into my brain. There's one part. Fuck, man, what episode is that? I think it might be Yoko. Yeah, it is, because that's where they do that like fake ass Casablanca. And there's a part like when they're doing the piano shit, and there's just like this fucking beautiful piano version of the main theme, like in the back while they're talking. Like, and it really helps sell the bit, but it sounds so nice. Like, it's really fucking good. Like, I was like, shit, is this the last episode of the season? Like, that's how good it sounded.
Hell yeah.
I love the soundtrack. Every single track in that listing is worth listening to at least once or twice. Because it's just such an organic sound to it.
Totally. I kept thinking this time while watching it how this show feels so atypical because like it's got all these nice music cues, but it never uses them as like a sting out of a scene to punctuate a joke or a scene.
Right. Yeah.
And part of me feels like, I wonder if this show would have been more broadly accepted had they like just done those very small things that like audiences don't necessarily know they're picking up on, but it is like, I feel like a lot of scenes would end on a funny joke, but then it just transitions so quickly. And if they just, if they put a funny sting on the end, a lot of the times that helps the audience kind of contextualize it as a punchline, which is silly to say, but the reality.
One thing they do this season that number one, I don't remember them doing. And number two, I kind of don't know why they do it, is some scenes, they don't even just like pick a line for the scene to end. They fucking fade it out.
They fade it a lot.
And I don't like that, man. I hate that shit.
I feel like this season does that more because it was so fast and loose with the like improv process that like it's hard to pick an endpoint for a conversation mid riff, right? So that was like the choice they made. But yeah, I do. It is a little weird. It doesn't feel very TV, but I also feel like that's kind of part of the charm. Like the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I'm glad they don't punctuate the jokes with music stings or end the scenes with music stings, because it kind of adds to this like charming, like I always call this my, like, this is my favorite show to watch before I go to bed.
Last episode you called it a sleepy time show.
Yeah, it is.
You called it sleepy time.
I call it my sleepy time show because it's like a show that I can watch and it just like I can just giggle myself to sleep while I'm watching it. like I'll be falling asleep and then like they'll just say something off the cuff that's so funny and I'll just kind of like laugh as I'm drifting off to sleep. But yeah, it's just like cozy. We described it earlier as cozy. It's got like a cozy vibe, and it just makes me feel comforted.
I feel that. I fucking yeah, man. I really do love this show. That's why I was happy to do it. It's
Yeah.
been so many years since I've seen it. And it's cool that it's all on Max too.
Yeah, I've actually got the DVDs up here.
Man, there's been many occasions I've been this close to getting it, and I just don't do it.
I've been trying to nab the complete set for years, but
I think it's so expensive.
So far out of print, and everyone who has one is already used, but they had so much good shit.
They had reprinted it at one point, though, right? Because I remember at one point there was like this like original case, I think. And then that went out of print.
The special edition had like, it was jam-packed with shit. It came like with the seasons, obviously, like an album. It came with its own clapper board. I think it came with its own
that's
bag.
that's what I remember. I remember the clapper
thing is
board.
So expensive now.
That's what I remember.
So bad. I just happened to buy these DVDs used at like some DVD. I remember I was right after I moved to LA. Actually, I was like just now. One of the things I did when I got here was like, I'm gonna find all the cool used media stores, and I found some cool DVD stores that sold used DVDs, and they just had really affordable all 4 seasons of home movies. I was like, oh hell yeah, I'll totally buy these. And that was the first time that I really like watched through the whole show. I had seen episodes and I had enjoyed it, but I was really like, oh yeah, this would be a good one to watch through. And I probably watched through it once a year, maybe once every couple of years, just because it's like it's so easy to absorb. It's just like I always get through it so fast.
As I was telling my roommate how it was way easier to marathon this than Archer or Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Because with those shows, so much happens, so much you have to pay attention to, so much character stuff, you know what I mean, so much plot stuff. But you got to make sure you understand and you pick out good bits to take notes on and to analyze when the time comes. But with home movies, you just kind of put it on and let it do its thing. And that doesn't mean that it's like deprived of like character or like these characters don't have like detailed relationships, because all that stuff really does shine through, and it's a marvel that they're able to do that through improvisation. But the way it goes about its story, and the way the characters talk to each other and the way it goes about its scenes, it is so easy to digest. It's so easy to accept, like, and it just let rip, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was definitely one of my biggest takeaways when watching it.
Hell yeah. Deli, any more background info before we start jumping into each episode that you want to enlighten us about, or have we kind of covered it?
When Cartoon Network picked it up, and I think this bounces off of the last point. It was they specifically referenced Khaki Jones as like the executive that was interested in it, and part of a rationale for picking it up was because it just kind of exemplified the neuroses and the ups and downs of childhood, which is a really weird tack for Cartoon Network in like 2001.
Yeah.
But they did it, and there were like a lot of changes that they made in other seasons that kind of like clashed with her reasoning for buying the show, which, I mean, you know, I guess we'll figure it out. We have 4 episodes to do it. But, you know, things that like upgraded the show in certain aspects. But of course, like season 1, I think, is the most unappreciated season. Even people that like the show just kind of like don't get it, which I understand. I prefer season 2, honestly, but it's interesting because that was kind of what sold the show, and yet a lot of those elements were kind of abandoned or left behind previously. They didn't even like, you know, retro script or improv as much, so
right,
you know.
Yeah, true. Because they kind of they changed, because it was really just the first 5 were the main ones where they were like really doing the improvisational like scripting, right?
I would say like the first 5 is just kind of like they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they were conscious of it, and they were just writing the show around that. And then the last 8 that they completed was still heavily retroscripted, but there were stakes that time. And then season 2 onward, they were like, okay, we actually have to script something here. This is kind of terrible.
Yeah, it's funny because I still really love season 1, but I definitely like a lot of my favorite episodes are seasons 2 and 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
I love the finale too. I love the last one
of season 1.
Not the fucking show.
Focus Group.
Oh my god, it's good. It's so good. Yeah, and it is a show that has a really nice, satisfying finale. Like, it's got a cozy finale that kind of matches the tone of the whole show. And that's all you can ask for, right? Yeah. Good stuff. All right, well, let's jump into the first one, which is called Get Away From My Mom. And it's basically the premise is that Paula is going on a date with McGurk, Brendon's soccer coach, dating his mother, at least a date. And it doesn't go great, but I think this episode's got some funny stuff, and I think it pretty quickly established these character relationships well. Like Brendon and his mom. I've always enjoyed Brendon's relationship with his mom in this show.
Me too.
And then obviously in McGurk, like McGurk is such a funny character, but the scene I think about with this episode is when like they're like kind of going like McGurk comes to pick up Paula, and Brendon and he are like arguing and going head to head before McGurk actually goes out with Paula. It's like I think it did a good job setting it up. Tariq, what do you think about this one?
I agree. I did really like this one. And I remember it from when I was a kid and when I was watching the whole show. I never forgot that episode title, man. You know, all these other fucking cartoons, they start with episodes like pilots. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's the shit like that. Nah, it's just fucking Get Away From My Mom. One thing I did notice, Brendon is like way more nervous and timid in these early ones. He's like fucking, I mean, it's squiggle vision, but he's fucking like Michael Cera. It's like fucking like you know what I mean? Like the whole fucking time.
I have a feeling that probably also kind of comes through from the nature of how they were producing it. Like, I bet Brendon Small was kind of nervous, like improvising through these scenes, right? So
that makes sense, yeah.
It kind of it does make sense to me. But you're right, he does feel a little more timid and nervous, right. And I feel like he feels that way sometimes later, but usually when there's like a real reason for it, that kind of
it's more situational. But like with here, it was just kind of like he was talking to his mom, and it just kind of sounded like he was scared of her for a little bit.
Well, anyone would be scared of Paula Poundstone in that state.
Shit. Here's one thing I forgot. I forgot they adopted that little black girl. Is that that's what happens, right? Because
it is adopted. That's why I was looking it up, and I was kind of like, part of me was like, is the implication here, because it seemed like she was saying she was recently divorced but also had a newborn baby, and I was like, is this baby the reason for the divorce? Was like my first thought. But I don't remember when in the show they established that she's adopted. Is it in the season?
They definitely did bring it up.
They do?
I don't remember when.
God, fuck, I don't remember. It's been so long.
And then did they adopt it like after they split up? Because like I don't think Brendon's dad ever like takes Josie or anything, right? So
I don't think so either.
Josie's pretty young. I don't think she would have been alive by the time they split up. Had to be after.
That's such an interesting choice to have the single mom whose dad, like the dad is largely out of the picture, and then she adopts another kid. That's wild. I like their little family though. They're funny. They're like, we'll get to it later, but I love I love the marble episode. Like you get the like kind of Brendon.
That's one of my favorites, hands down.
It's great, and
it's just so good.
And yeah, just like Brendon being just trying to be a good older brother is great. I like it. Yeah, Deli, you got any thoughts on this first episode overall?
It's a pretty interesting one. Obviously, you know, like you said earlier, it's there's a lot of character moments that establish everything pretty quickly. I think like season 1, they also didn't know what Brendon was as a character. I remember them talking about how cartoonishly expressive he should be. At certain points, they were like planning for him to like express emotion like a dog, like if he was sad, like his nose would droop down a bit, or you know, if he was scared, like his hair would frizz up. Yeah, they did it a little bit, but they were gonna do it every time at one point.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, like, it definitely doesn't really represent what the show is, but it's got stuff that made me laugh. I also just like the first movie that they introduce is The Dark Side of the Law, which is a great title. Like I think even in these early ones where it feels like a little bit of a different show, like anything with them making the titular home movies always like just hits me in the perfect spot. Like they're so silly. Yeah, you guys want to move on to the second one?
There's one thing that I did want to bring up, just based on the fact that we talked about the improvisation earlier, is that there's a scene here where there's Brendon and Melissa at the sandbox, and then Eric comes over, Melissa's dad, and they get to talking, and that shit is all over. They're fucking talking over each other. Like, that shit is all over the place, man. Like, that was like, I was like, geez, like this isn't even. Because, you know, like, we're doing a podcast right now, so it's not even like podcast where like you guys are listening to me talk. Like, they're like this. It was like they like layered the dialogue over each other almost. Right. That shit was nuts.
I feel like that's probably just what happened. Like, this is early on. They're working out the workflow of how they like improvise these scenes. So I imagine like. I imagine they didn't layer it over itself on purpose. I imagine that's how the conversation happened, right?
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, which, obviously is something they had to work on as the show went on. But yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think much about that scene, but
and Jason's barely in this one.
Yeah, Jason becomes such a funny character. God, I love Jason. All right, let's move on to 102. This one is called I Don't Do Well in Parent-Teacher Conferences, which is another good title. And
they started naming these after quotes. These first few were named after quotes from the episode.
You're right. And I always remembered this title for some reason. Mostly because it is like, I think this episode probably has Paula Poundstone's funniest scene in the show in her only 5 episodes, which is the actual parent-teacher conference when she just starts swearing. I really like that scene. I think it's really funny. And it's also kind of interesting because this is also about Brendon but this is the one where Brendon has to do the presentation, right?
Is it?
Or
it was the one where I think he has to do something remedial because he's gonna fail the 4th grade or something.
Right, totally, yeah. Because he has it. That was a quote I wrote down. Is when Paula is kind of reprimanding Brendon for failing his classes. He goes, "Look, Mom, listen. I have not done homework for the last year," which is so funny to me. Yeah. I don't know. Like, what else? You guys, I guess this is this one that introduces Lynch too. Is Lynch in the first one?
Lynch is not in the because I don't think they go to school in the first one.
Right, it's soccer practice and outside of school stuff.
Right, so I think this is the first one with Lynch. This is also I wrote there's so much wrong with Jason. So I think this is the one where he like lists off like he's like pink eye.
Oh yeah.
Like he's like listing off all this shit that's wrong with him, and I'm like, geez, this kid is fucking done up.
This is the show. I feel like people underestimate John Benjamin as like a more traditional voice actor because generally he's just doing his voice, and that voice is great. McGurk, Archer, Bob are like mostly him doing his normal voice, and you know he's got different personalities to those characters. But Jason, and then also like characters in Bob's Burgers like Jimmy Jr. That he plays, like, are really, really funny and good vocal performances.
Oh man, you just fucking. I didn't know he did any of that. I didn't know he was Jason. I didn't know he was fucking Jimmy Jr.
You can't tell? It's the same voice.
It's not
over
the same
and over
voice,
again.
Man. It's not. I didn't fucking know, man.
You know what's aggravating about like entertainment is that like people give voice actors shit all the time if they're known for like having the voice or something like that. Especially in like anime communities, but like they'll be like, John Benjamin doesn't do shit. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I've seen all of home movies. I know how versatile he is.
Exactly.
You know, he's like an old school comedian. So, you know, all those people are versatile in, you know, acting and feeling and thinking as this 8-year-old or this drunk soccer coach. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, there's clearly dimensions to this. Even if you hear it as just like H. John Benjamin, it's clearly still a performance,
right? Yeah.
That is to put you in.
As much as like, you know, obviously you want to use John Benjamin's voice because it's such a great voice, but I feel like Bob, McGurk, and Archer are all very distinct.
It's fucking weird, man. It's like Jay Sherman and Arnie Zip,
right?
Like it's still John Lovitz, and he's doing the exact same thing, but it's so different. It's so different. Like Bob, Bob in general is like so different from like Archer.
Archer is such a confident character. He's such a confident character, and he's such an asshole. So a lot of the writing kind of helps convey that like asshole overconfidence. Bob is such a like underdog character. Like he runs this like nearly failing business, and he's got like, you know, he loves his family, but he's always just exasperated. And so like that, all of that stuff comes through in the character performance so much. And then McGurk here is also confident, but also an idiot. So he's like, you know, he's confident, but ignorant. You know what I mean?
And I think it's like tone of voice too, because like Archer really bold, like he speaks really bold, and like he yells a lot more often. Bob barely ever fucking yells. Yeah, and he's really like he's timid or like really annoyed, like oh my god, like, you know what I mean? But like, and McGurk is like somewhere in the middle, where like his voice isn't bold, but it's like stern, and like at least in just kind of like the tone and like how he usually talks to Brendon or like the kids or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's and I think that speaks to him though. I think that speaks to the actor and how he like encapsulates the role, like, you know what I mean? Like can kind of bleed seamlessly into the personality to where you can do the exact same voice, but it comes off differently because you become that character.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And McGurk is a character that is just so fun to me. Like I just like sometimes Mikey's not here today, unfortunately, but Mikey does a really good John Benjamin impression. And we used Mikey and I used to live together, and we used to do Brendon bits. We would just be like, Brendon, hey, Brendon. We would just improvise Brendon bits to each other, which was so fun.
And I got my roommate imitating Steve Harvey, so that's what we do all day.
Hell yeah!
Yo, stupid ass.
He said,
"Get your ass."
he said,
yo dumb ass want to go to the store?
He said, "Time for soccer practice."
Let's go to the board.
Have y'all ever seen? This is a very small, silly tangent. But have you guys ever seen? So, like, obviously the Steve Harvey show. Like, he's been on a lot of shows, but he had shows named after him. And
Steve Harvey show.
I know that they. I don't know if you guys have ever been on a film set, but usually if it's in a facility where there's other sets, they'll label stuff so that it doesn't get lost. Sure. And there was just like a little dolly that the art department for the Steve Harvey show used to use like they had a bunch of them, but there's a photo online somewhere of the Steve Harvey art department dolly, and written on it just says Shart Department because it's SH Art Department. Which,
oh man,
pretty funny. Oh man, that was a strikeout. No laughs.
Well, Steve.
I think Shart Department's a funny title.
I think it's gross.
I think it's symbolic. There's years and years and years of subtext to that.
His ass says Shart. What your ass say?
He said shit.
Man, I'm gonna do this all pod, man. Don't get me fucking started. I do it all day in the house.
All right, Brendon. We gotta get back on track, Brendon.
Let's do McGurk and Steve Harvey real quick. Let's do it real quick. What your ass say?
Well, Steve, listen, I coach soccer, Steve.
Who the hell plays soccer?
You don't. Soccer's a very popular sport, Steve. You don't play soccer? You never played soccer?
See, I'm old school.
Well, here's the thing.
Soccer.
I think soccer is probably the most played sport amongst kids aged 6 to 10.
Well, let's see. Survey said basketball was the number one answer. Whatever, man.
That's pretty good. Oh man. All right.
McGurk would definitely like list off a statistic like that too.
Yeah, I know. I think I remember doing one with Mikey and I think it was because we needed to make copies of our keys, and so we were like, Brendon, can you go down to the store for me, make a copy, make two copies of this key, and then come back and give me both of the keys. The one that cracked me up in this episode is when he goes, Brendon, go to the store and get me some soda.
Yeah, he did. Wait, there's one in a couple episodes that's so fucking funny where he says, so I need you to go to the store, need you to get me some coffee. So what you want? You want hazelnut? He said, nah, I don't want hazelnut. I just want regular coffee. He said, you used to get hazelnut. He said, I know it was a bad phase. I'm over that though. I'm not gonna get hazelnut. And Brendon starts to walk away. He's like, Brendon, get hazelnut. He's like,
God, McGurk is great. And that's like this. I think this show, obviously, like I love John Benjamin in all these shows that he stars in, but I feel like this show really shows off his versatility and his like how funny he is personally because of the improvisational nature of it. Like both with McGurk and Jason, because Jason is such a funny voice. It's one of my favorite voices of the show. And then he does also one of Walter Perry. I can't remember which one. Who Walter and Perry are only in season 1 a little bit. But Jeez. Man, Walter and Perry, very funny characters also.
Yeah, they are.
It's funny. Lauren Bouchard likes the like little idiot duos. Like you got Walter and Perry, and then you got the twins. It was the Andy and Ollie. Yeah, in Bob's Burgers, who are played by Sarah and Laura Silverman. And Laura Silverman does some guest voices in home movies as well. A lot of good. They have a lot of good like comedians who I feel like were less like aren't as typically cast in animated stuff, but are all really good in this season. You guys have any other thoughts on I don't do well in parent-teacher conferences? Brendon, any more thoughts on this?
my ass was wondering if they I was wondering if there's like an uncensored version, because when she's like doing her bit in the conference, at least on HBO Max, it was bleeped, and I always remember it being bleeped as a kid, but I wonder if like there's a version for actually saying like fuck.
I watched on HBO Max also, so I didn't check my DVD copy to see if it was uncensored. I feel like it's censored. I don't know. I also feel like it's funnier censored.
I do too. I think it's funny. I think it's funny. It just made me. I was like, I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wonder if they baked it in because they thought it was funnier. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure they did, because that was still like that was part of the UPN cut, and UPN they like gave them notes on things like well, we'll get to Brendon has rabies, but there were a lot of little things that they like did. So I wouldn't be I don't remember. I'm sure it probably is censored on the DVD copy, because mine has the commentaries on it too.
Ooh.
I
rob you for that.
Yeah, I'm curious. So I'm curious to hear what kind of those notes were. Is that obviously Brendon Gets Rabies was almost at that point, they were almost canceled, but well, let's move on to 103. We're only a couple episodes deep. We've had some good overall home movies combos so far. I'm enjoying this conversation. 103 is called The Art of the Sucker Punch. And this is the one where where Jason gets beat up and pushed in mud, and so Brendon challenges the bully to a fight.
Yes, this one is so fucking funny.
I love this. This is of the first 5 of the UPN episodes, this is definitely my favorite one. I think it's so funny. Jason just visually covered in mud is very funny. Like him trying to come in the house and being like, you can't come in. You just can't. And then I think Shannon is a super funny character.
So fucking fun. Oh my god, man. I don't want to talk about the rest of the episode. I just want to talk about Shannon.
Talk about Shannon?
Shannon is so First of all, when he calls him, he's like fucking raising his family.
Yeah, like, I know.
He's like mixing like cake mix. He's like got the phone right here. You see his 2 brothers like in the back.
It's actually so interesting because it feels like there's nothing other than the fact that he fights. There's nothing about Shannon that isn't likable. Like he's such a likable person and character, and you like even just see him being like raising a family basically, and even the way he bullies is so polite.
Yeah, when Brendon calls and like tries to be threatening, like yo, I want to fight, and he's like, okay, so who is this? What day are you trying to do this? Okay, I could pencil you in around here, and then he's like, yeah, so I would limber up. You have your doctor's information?
A little stretching. Get a little stretching in.
Yeah. Do you have your doctor's information? No, I would have to talk to my mom. So, okay, so do that.
He's so he's so kind about it. He's like, he does his due diligence to make sure that he's like, well, if we're going to fight, like I want to make sure after you get beat up, you're going to be okay.
Man, they kind of fucking overdid it because I like him more here than I do Brendon. Because I fucking love him. Like, he's so funny.
I feel like that was kind of the idea. I feel like that was almost the point.
I fucking love him, man.
My favorite interaction in that conversation is Brendon's just like, so I was thinking like 3:30, and he's like, who are you again? Short kid, red hair. Oh yeah, 3:30's fine.
wait. Later on, when he calls him about the fuck, I'm jumping around because I have another note about a funny thing he says. All my notes, I fucking love Shannon.
I wrote a lot of Shannon notes too.
It's so funny. The part later when he's calling about the birthday party, and he's talking about it like it's a fucking like a movie. Like he's like, yeah, so I think if all the kids are really kind of spooked because of the fight, but I think if I were to get you attached to the project, a lot of people would come. And it's like, what the fuck is he talking about?
It's so funny. I also liked when how they filmed it and Shannon just immediately like asked for copies of the video. He was like, "Can I get a copy of that?"
That's another one I wrote. Said, "Can I get a copy of this?" When he fucking when Brendon like drops to the ground and then he like puts him in the lock, he says, "This is called the Tasmanian footlock. You can't get out of this."
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, this episode's silly as hell. This is a funny episode.
It's so fucking funny.
Even like Brendon hyping himself up, just like yelling about he's gonna punch his butt. I want to punch his butt.
Jason's like, maybe just move away from the butt.
Move away from the butt, maybe. Deli, how do you feel about Art of the Sucker Punch?
You know, the brilliance of Shannon kind of speaks for itself. You really have to like see him in action to understand why we're geeking so hard.
Right.
Emo Phillips really like did a public service with this performance. And he did kind of make Brendon look like a little wimp. Like his inner Greg Heffley came out in this episode.
Totally.
He's like Shannon's like the very old school, almost like vaudevillian type bully. It's like, we'll do everything by the books. And then Brendon is trying to Fight Club his way in and out of the shit. But he's Weenie Hut generals. So he can't do anything. All he can get away with is this fucking lawn gnome. That's all he has.
It's funny even at the end when like at the party and everyone's kind of laughing at Brendon, but like Brendon kind of takes it in stride at the party. Like it's interesting.
He does. He's like, "Oh, you got me."
Yeah. He's just kind of sitting and laughing along at himself for the remainder of the party
because he's just kind of. How the fuck can you be? I want to know how did we even get to the point of Shannon doing what he did to Jason? Because how do you even like Shannon? I don't get it. Like he's such a fucking cool dude. Like even Brendon's just kind of like, yeah, you got me. I don't know. I can't hate you.
Jason kind of goes mask off like season 2 onward. So I wouldn't be shocked if he did something really nasty. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he did something crazy, like really nasty.
He gonna mask off in a couple episodes from here with the
there's a couple. The nurse one.
But he really like season 2 is like the beginning of the end.
Yeah,
sure. You can only see really signs of it in season 1, but
is season 2 the one where he goes on like the candy binge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was how the fuck did you do that? We've been doing this podcast too long because you just fucking read my mind. Because I was about to bring that one up because that was the first episode of Home Movies that I ever saw.
Oh, nice.
So that is my like in my memory, that is who Jason is.
Yeah.
Like what he does in that episode. So yeah, he's nuts.
Such a funny character.
He's a monster.
All right, let's move on to 104. If you guys are down, it is called Brendon Gets Rabies. This is the one where Brendon really wants a puppy, and also their neighbors go on vacation and need Paula to take care of the cat. So as sort of to combine those storylines, Brendon has to take care of the cat to prove he can take care of a pet, and then the cat gets out and gets rabies, and then Brendon gets rabies. Mm-hmm. This I think the premise of this episode is very funny. The neighbors are goofy. Like the cat's name is Alexandre.
Alexandre.
Which is funny.
Are you gonna finish? You just trail off like that?
It's funny. But what do you guys think about this one? Deli, what do you think about Brendon Gets Rabies? You said, I know you were mentioning something about notes from UPN on this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites from season 1, because it is very funny to watch a small child get mauled by a rabid cat. They were just going to make a rabid dog because, that's traditional.
Right.
And then UPN was like, stop, wait, you can't kill a dog on primetime TV. So they had to change it to a cat, which
really?
I don't know why they thought that was more acceptable. It could have been like a squirrel or something, but
That's messed up, man. That's
is.
mean. That's real mean to cats. Oh man. I love I think the opening scene is really funny. Like the game of that scene is like them trying to hold the dog, and Brendon only gets like a second holding the dog. And Melissa is like, "Oh, the dog kissed me. Like the dog loves me." and Brendon's like, I want to hold the dog. Can I touch it? Can I hold the dog? It's funny how, like, I don't know if you guys have done much improv, but it is funny how you can see them find, like, one of the things when you do improv is you have to find a game in each scene, which is like, what is the bit that we're all in on together? Like, what is that, the thing that we're yes-anding and we're continuing? And for a lot of these scenes in these first 5 episodes, you can like pinpoint, oh yeah, like here's where they're improvising. Here's the game of this scene. Here's what they're doing with it. And that scene was really funny to me just because you could tell what it was. And then, yeah, that cat, man, like the Brendon letting the cat out, them finding the cat and having rabies is so funny.
So that cat has a funny design too.
It does have a funny design.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite scene in this one though is? It's when they're at, I can't remember if it's the vet. I think it's the vet. And he goes, you know what we're going to call it? We're going to call it making cotton candy.
Yeah, he did. He did say that. I think he asked Brendon if he likes cotton candy, and then Brendon just fucking ignores him.
And like, it's like, well, I mean, not really. Well, we're going to make some cotton candy if you like it. And you can see the box with the catnip progressively get more and more foamy. It's like, it's good.
Oh, it's man, it's so funny. That's also a great voice. Is that, who does that voice? I wonder. Is it like, it could be a John Benjamin voice. It could be a Brendan Small voice. Man,
I think it's one of the two.
Yeah,
but I'm leaning towards John Benjamin.
Yeah, because it does have like the little, like when he does like the nasally stuff, he tends to do nasally stuff in his non-normal voices. Yeah, this is funny. I also like. It's funny because like Brendon's not really, he's not that guilty about what happened to the cat. He's guilty, but he's more like, well, can we just keep it alive for a little bit, like for a couple days, like, right. Can we, like until they get home, you know? But yeah, it's you know what, I wrote down that the funeral is funny, but I can't even remember it. What happens in the funeral?
I just remember the visual of the funeral.
Right.
It was crazy. They brought in this like specific like pet priest or something like that, and you know they spoke to Alexandre's life. You know, and it was just like the woman weeping in the background, but the husband was like, you know, he's like, oh well, I guess that's over. You know, he was like. Just completely disconnected from this whole situation, and of course Brenda and Paul are, you know, looking guilty in the corner.
Right. Man, yeah, this is a funny episode. 3 and 4, I feel like to me are kind of the perfect. Of these first 5 UPN episodes, those are the 2 that like I love in these first ones. Yeah, you guys got any other thoughts on Brendon Gets Rabies before we move on?
I guess 2 quick things. I guess 3. Number 1, this made me realize that like this one and the one before, there's no McGurk, which is unheard of later. There's like just 2 episodes without him. This is also the one I was talking about that has the fade out when she's like telling like what to do with the cat. Telling Paula what to do with the cat. Like the woman that owns the cat, she's like giving her instructions, and they just fucking fade out during the instructions, and then like, but they faded into like later in the scene. That's what like threw it off for me. I was like, man, it's just the same. It's the same scene.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, it's like it's the when they're talking about the cat, like the instructions to feed the cat or whatever. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that one stood out to me as well.
And there's the intro, which we didn't talk about, but it doesn't exist later.
Yeah, it's only in a couple episodes. It's like the first episode and what, like this one and this one.
It's maybe. In this one, yeah. And I think it's only those two, maybe. Like I don't.
It is kind of a weird one. It's a little slow. It's just the full version of that song, and then just what Brendon's just like kind of running through the house.
Yeah,
he's doing his
looking
weird
for his camera.
Run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were right to just cut it down to the bam, 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 bam. Good shit. All right, let's talk about 105. Yoko. This is the one where, what's the girl's name? Lonnie.
Lonnie.
Yeah. Brendon starts dating this girl Lonnie because he basically makes a good impression on her during a soccer team camping trip, which the beginning is so funny when McGurk is just like, he's got no food for them. And he's like, oh, I thought you guys were going to bring your own food. It's like, well, you didn't tell us to do that. I wrote the note, I cannot believe that the parents let the kids do anything with McGurk.
Yeah, it's fucking rough. It's rough. And then the fucking Russian kid pisses in the canteen.
Yeah.
And when he tells Brendon, he's like, Brendon, I'm pissing in the canteen. And Brendon says, oh man, you are a freak. That shit made me burst out laughing. That shit was nuts.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's funny. It starts out with that. I remember, and then McGurk is just like, now everything tastes like pee to me now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're like, yeah, because Brendon like goes and try, because he's like, man, fuck it, I'm leaving y'all, man. I'm about to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, and Brendon goes to try to reason with him. He goes to try to reason with him. He's like, you got like these kids out here, like you're responsible.
You can't leave these kids.
Yeah, you're responsible for these kids.
That is crazy that he was just gonna leave them.
What's up, Brendon? Did you come over here to tell me something? Confess something to me.
I feel
like it was you.
I thought like the introduction of the like relationship was funny, and I like how it presents like these sort of, you know, young sort of like elementary school relationships. You know, she's just out of a relationship with someone else, and she's like a few days later with someone else, and she's like, well, that lasted 4 days, and this one's 2 days so far. But also her ex Mitch is played by Mitch Hedberg, who do you guys know Mitch Hedberg?
Vaguely.
Mitch Hedberg is like a legendarily incredible comedian. He unfortunately died in 2005, but I'm going to send you guys some of my favorite Mitch Hedberg sets, because he was truly is one of my favorite comedians of all time. He has this like, it's hard to describe his style, but it feels like a lot of comedians were like heavily inspired by him. And he plays a handful of characters in this first season. He plays like 4 characters in this season for some reason. But he's very, very, very funny. And yeah, just a shout out to Mitch Hedberg. Great comedian. One of my favorite Mitch Hedberg bits is he goes, they're all kind of just like goofy, clever thoughts, but he delivers them in such a fun, deadpan way. And one of my favorites is I like an escalator because an escalator can never break. It can only become stairs. You'll never see a temporarily out of order sign for escalator. Only escalator, temporarily stairs. Sorry for the convenience. He's great. I'll send you guys some Mitch bits. He's really funny. But it was funny. We were watching this, and I was like, "Wait a second! This guy's name is Mitch, and he sounds just like Mitch Hedberg. It's got to be him." And sure enough, yeah. What do you? How do you guys feel about 105 Yoko? Deli, what do you think about this one?
It's one of the episodes I think about the least. I think I'm just, because when you get off of like Brendon gets rabies, it's kind of like, this looks mundane in comparison almost, but. The first 5 minutes are like crazy, and then it's all just like, okay, nepotism in filmmaking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yep. That's kind of how I feel about it too. Like there's some moments in it that are really fun, and there are aspects of it that I think are really funny. Like I love when Brendon and Lonnie break up, like everyone hears that Brendon got broken up with, even McGurk. McGurk shows up. He's like, Brendon, I heard it's over between you and that girl. That's super funny to me. Yeah, Tariq, what do you think about Yoko?
Yeah, I like this one. This one has that Casablanca bit that I was talking about earlier.
That's right.
It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the season. Because I think it's really good. But I like this one. Also, I guess I watched this at like 9 a.m. and I guess I was really tired. So I was doing my shopping list at the same time while I was watching this. And one of my notes just says bug spray. And I think I wrote that. I think I wrote that in the wrong spot.
Are you sure that wasn't about the camping? Was there any dialogue about bug spray in the camping bit?
I think the bugs in the camping bit made me want to buy bug spray. And I wrote it in the wrong area.
All right. Well, you guys got any other thoughts on Yoko before we move on to the Adult Swim era?
Yes, I do have one last question. Does McGurk care this much about soccer later on in the show? I do not remember because he gets fucking heated every time they play a game.
It feels
in these early ones.
I feel like I don't know. No, I feel like that's I feel like they kind of move away from that as the show goes on.
I thought
Correct
so
me if
too.
I'm wrong, Deli.
He has his moments where he still gets heated.
Right.
That whole episode with anger management, that's the whole catalyst for it, of course.
True. Good point.
Because he's still, irresponsible, and that's like the whole crux of it.
Right.
He's still yelling at the kids like 4 seasons in. Melissa cannot kick the ball yet, apparently. But it's less like he cares about the game going on, and more just like, his attention was just grabbed for a minute. Like, hey, that kid died on the field. Kick the ball better. It's like.
All right, let's move on to 106 Director's Cut. Okay, the first thing I noticed about this episode, and so this opening shot is nuts because it's McGurk with his like leg out of his like whatever these onesies are that everyone's wearing. Yeah. And I mean, it's just because of the way it's animated and drawn, but like you still see the like rest of his onesie hanging off. And honestly, it kind of just looks like McGurk's jerking off.
Let's go.
It's the meat show.
It's the meat show, baby.
He's McGurking off.
He's McGurking off. Yes, sir, ski.
I think that's a good place to stop for today. We will revisit the other half later.
It's a good place to start for today. Welcome. What the is up, everybody? Welcome to Cartoons That Curse. I'm your host, Johnny. Wait, no, I'm not.
Oh god, it's so funny to me. I remember like just opening that scene and I was just like, oh man, this is drawn weird. It looks kind of gross. This is pretty weird.
I think when I saw it, I was kind of wondering how do they get into those things if it's possible for him to take his leg out in the fashion that he took his leg out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, none of that stuff makes sense because it's just the way that they're drawn is that their bodies are all like in a colored onesie, right? Like it's like Brendon's blue and McGurk's got the red one, and yeah, and it's just it doesn't make sense. So they had to do something there, but it looks gross. It really looks because like it's like the leg being so skinny does not look like a leg. Sorry. Just saying, doesn't look like a leg.
Does he have toes? I don't think so.
I don't think so. They show his hair. It's pretty weird. Yeah. I love this episode though. This
episode fucking rules. I love this one too.
It's really good.
So funny. So this is the first of the Adult Swim era. This aired September 2nd, 2001. It was the first ever show to air on Adult Swim, which is cool. And I think you can kind of feel how much more conceptualized this is than the previous episodes. Like having the idea of like, oh, they're like Dwayne wants to make this rock opera out of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis is such a like, it's such a specifically written concept that like I could not see this idea coming in the first 5 episodes, right?
And there's a very distinct arc that Brendon goes through in this.
For sure.
That also kind of feels like they said, okay, we want to tell this story with Brendon. Make sure that whatever you guys do in the booth, make sure he hits these emotions and he feels this way.
For sure. Just in general, I think the Franz Kafka rock opera idea is so genius. Like, and also the execution of it, like Dwayne's singing about the metamorphosis and everything. There's the lyrics in the songs are so funny. It's, and also like, it's a good rock opera, man. Like it really is.
I was so prepared for it to be shitty. Like I was like, oh, they're just gonna do like another shitty thing and it's gonna be just a little bit better than what Brendon's. No, they genuinely made it really fun, and you can tell everybody loves this. Everybody loves doing it.
Yes.
Like they have that very if you've ever been on a production, there's that very fucking real scene of just Jason and Melissa like in the middle of takes and they're like talking. They're like, yeah, I just really like the music. I love this too. Like that's how you talk. Like when you're on a project, you just kind of like, yeah, I really like what we're doing.
It's one of my favorite parts of this episode is how much everyone loves and believes in the idea, except Brendon his ego is so bruised from them wanting to do an idea that's not one of his that he's the only one who can't do it. So like they're making this amazing thing, and he's just like, all right, guys, it's not working. It's not working. Which is so funny. Deli, what do you think about director's cut?
It's a pretty strong episode to, return to. It's a new level of, cinema and everything. It's the peak. I unironically really like the pasture rap, the pasteurizing rap.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, when he's like, so this is for your cut, right? So let me tell you why it should be in yours too, though.
Yeah. It's pretty good, actually. It's weird because you would think, like, Brendon's idea, and then, this guy's, both the ideas are pretty silly, in theory.
Yeah.
And you would think that you wouldn't be able to, like, decide between the two. But, of course, once again, Brendon looks like a dick. Episode 4, season 3 of the Brendon looks like a dick arc. Because I mean, like, his idea probably wasn't bad. It probably was going to be decent, but the Kafka musical blew it out of the water.
But wait, isn't his idea Louis? The Louis?
It was.
It's the Louis bullshit.
This shit was hilarious.
It's so funny.
I remember them saying that the Kafka musical was going to be like a Tron musical, but they could not get the rights in time, so they changed it.
It's so good. Like, honestly, there are so many ideas in this show when they go through, like, there's episodes later where they start to go through and watch through like tons of the old movies that they made. Cause like, even in this season, they say like they've made over 400 movies and honestly, like so many of them I'm like, I would watch the whole thing. I would watch this whole movie. Like, I wish I could see, and the Franz Kafka Metamorphosis rock opera is like, for sure, I would love to see that fully realized. That would be so great. It's just like the show has such layers to it. Man, this is a good, fun episode. And I like at the end when like they all kind of split up and like Brendon has to make the movie by himself and he's just going nuts without his friends and he's like play acting as his friends. He's like being Melissa and he's being Jason. I like Brendon going nuts. It's fun.
Yeah.
You guys got any other thoughts on director's cut?
I mean, it's a good one. I like this one a lot.
It's a good one.
Hazelnut coffee.
Yeah.
Really good. Oh, this one has the hazelnut coffee combo. Oh man. All right, let's move on to 107. It was supposed to be funny. This one, okay, so the reason I love this one is because I love Melissa's dad. I think Melissa's dad is a great character, Eric. He's like, he's got such a funny, genuine charm to him, and like he's also so playful and silly, like especially when he's talking to the kids, like it feels like he will entertain the kids' silliness more than a lot of the other adults do.
Right.
And yeah, he just always makes me laugh. Even in this one, like, because the premise of this one is that he wants Brendon to make a video to like honor his dad, right? Melissa's grandfather. And then even at the end, after Brendon fucks it up and he makes like this horrible, like horribly silly movie that doesn't take it seriously, like you see Eric watching it later and he's like giggling and he's like laughing at that it's actually funny, which is a really nice moment. What do you guys think about this one?
It's pretty funny. I think it's one of the funnier ones of season 1. I think that it helps that Eric also has like his own arcs throughout the show. He's not exactly on level with the kids, but he's closer to it than anybody else. And it also helps that he's voiced by Jonathan Katz. So automatically this just elevates whatever performance he was going to give.
Yeah, I agree. He's really good. I also, Brendon's like, obviously the video is nuts, like when that he makes for him, but I like that he starts interviewing him, and then when he how does it transition, and he's just like, it starts talking about the radio, and he's just like, in this year the radio was invented and everybody loved the radio,
and it was so funny. It was like a fridge and he like drew the shit on it. He's like, I love this radio.
It's so silly. But yeah, this is like, a lot of the show is about Brendon like thinking he's doing something that kind of makes him look like an asshole. He definitely looks like an asshole in this episode also, you know?
Because he's just kind of... Because that was my thing. I think he felt like talking, just having Melissa's grandfather talk was boring.
Right.
But like, that was just kind of... I feel like that was just kind of him and not like from a filmmaker standpoint. From a filmmaking standpoint, it's like, oh, okay, you get some B-roll, put some nice music behind it. That it'll be all right, and it'll look nice, and it'll be, you know what I mean? But like, Brendon was just like, nah, man, what are jokes? Like, this isn't me. like you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
It's kind of the same. It's almost the same thing that he was dealing with in the previous episode, where he like can't handle doing a project that isn't like driven by his own sense of creativity
entirely. Yeah.
And
it
so
can't even, because that's the thing, right? Is that this thing with Melissa's grandfather, they gave him creative control. They just said, just make it a dedication to him. You know what I mean? But he couldn't even do like that because he was pigeonholed in, it has to be about this specific man. Like, even just that small of a direction that somebody gives him, it kind of makes him go like, I can't fucking like, you know what I mean?
For sure.
It does have some parallels to that season 2 episode, The Party, where of course, well, we're gonna get to it, but you know, they got to go and give Fenton a good send off, and
that does happen.
Brendon was tasked with making the perfect video film to show off his good side, and he completely threw it because Fenton's a little hellspawn. So
that's right.
I forgot about Fenton. He's not in the season, is he?
Nah, they don't invent him until next year.
Fenton is so funny.
He's funny as shit.
Brendon, he's like, he's so whiny. Brendon.
Hey,
Oh shit!
Oh god, I can't wait to talk about the rest of the show. What a good show! Man, yeah, this is but that is interesting. Like, and I also think it's like a pretty impressive line they walk, though, because even though we talk about these episodes, we've had 3 episodes here where we talked about how Brendon kind of comes off as the bad guy. But at the same time, it's still generally sourced from like him being a kid and having like a lack of understanding of what he's, of what he's meant to be doing. It all comes from like a place of him just kind of being a kid and not from him being like malicious, you know?
Right.
And so like he's still a likable character even when he's doing stuff where you're like, oh, Brendon, what are you doing, buddy? You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it's impressive. It's an impressive way to an impressive line to walk. My dog is bothering me right now. What are you doing, Ponyo? She wants attention. I already fed you. All right, you guys want to move on to the next one? You got any other thoughts on this one?
What do I have here? I have Melissa's grandfather just sounds like an old Italian man.
Like Chris Pratt?
Sounds like Garfield. It sounds like
Combined
Mario.
With Mario.
Weird animation thing when Brendon brings up McGurk starring in the movie. He gets stars in his eyes. I think that's something they do later. I was like, oh, it's a weird animation thing.
Deli, got any other thoughts on this one? It was supposed to be funny. Oh my god, my dog is.
It was pretty funny. So yeah. That's all that needs to be said.
All right. Sorry, my dog found a squeaky toy and is now squeaking it. She really knows how to interrupt the pod. Let's move on to 108, Method of Acting, which is another one that I think is really funny. I love the opening scene in this one so much, where he's trying out for this play, this like local play, and he's so like overly confident in like the way he's just like very flippant, and he's just like, I don't think I'll be needing the script. He's like made all these movies at home and he's so confident in his acting abilities, like he's so far ahead of all these other people, and he's just immediately learns that he's not. It's funny. Yeah, what do you guys think about this one? Tariq, got any thoughts on Method of Acting?
This is the one with the I'm a pretty lady stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, which I remember as a kid. I don't remember why I found it so funny as a kid, because I remember like fucking dying laughing. I think it might be he's just like, why did I film this? Like he's like really fucking confused. He doesn't even remember.
For sure. There's so many lines that I love in this episode comedically. Deli, do you have anything on this one? How do you feel about Method of Acting?
It's pretty good. Obviously all the bits with Brendon trying to act it's just the apex of comedy right there. The final scene was also pretty good. But generally speaking, like I don't have that much to say on it. You know, it's decent.
This one has a lot of lines I really like comedically, so I wrote down a lot of those. So that's going to be a lot of my commentary here. But I laughed so hard when they're at lunch and Melissa goes, "Oh, my dad makes the worst sandwiches," and they're like, "Well, what do you have?" She goes, "Tarragon chicken with sprouts and Dijon mustard on focaccia."
Right. I mean, Jason's like, "You must be rich."
Yeah. It's so funny. I also fucking love obviously in this one, Brendon's trying to do more acting. And so he for a moment, he's like, Jason, you can be the director. And Jason immediately becomes like a diva asshole, like tyrant director. That's very funny to me and very Jason. And then one of my favorite McGurk lines of the whole season. And he goes, "Look, Brendon, I don't loan money to 8-year-olds anymore. And if you see Billy, tell him I'm looking for him."
I like because I forgot, this is the one where Paula is the fucking teacher and she like makes out with the student. At the college.
I like that subplot.
Yeah. I love it. It's so fucking funny. And then it's funny because around that time, Brendon gets kicked out of the class. So they have to have dinner together, and they're both fucking hiding something. Paula's like doing this to hide her hickey, and like it's so. And then the dialogue. You know what's so funny about the dialogue? I rewatched Goldmember last night with my roommate, fucking Austin Powers. Oh. And wait, am I good?
Sorry, you froze for a second for me, but you came back. You're all good. So you watched Goldmember last night?
Yeah, I rewatched Goldmember last night with my roommate, fucking Austin Powers, and there's a bit in it that reminds me of a bit in this episode where like he's like, "Oh, you got daddy issues?" And he's like, "Nah." He keeps saying shit that like. He keeps saying like dad and father. I don't remember the exact words.
I dadn't.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, I remember that scene. Yeah.
There's a bit like that in here where they're both trying to hide shit from each other, and then like, there's like he's like, so what'd you get kicked out of peas? I didn't kicked out of peas. Like, they're like arguing about they're talking about the food on the table. They're talking about like the peas. He's like, I didn't get kicked out of peas. Said, how did you make out? Like, what? What do you mean? Like that type of shit?
Right.
It's so funny. And it's like a relentless going back and forth. Like, they find so many creative ways to just, like, try so hard to hide these both things from each other.
I really like that subplot with Paula's, like, affair with her cool Fonzie student. But my favorite,
whose name she doesn't know.
Yeah, it's really
you're
funny.
The teacher.
But I love at the end when she's trying to unpack it with him, and she's just like, we made out in class. He's like, oh, that, and he just goes, look, I make out. That's what I do. It's my inspiration. It's why I write. Like he's just like, I just make out with everybody.
Yeah. I made out with everybody in the class. She was like, really?
The
other
part,
she like kisses him and smacks him.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's right. The other part I really like is their like, I actually really creatively like their like Death of a Salesman ending. Like where they're doing their movie, the movie that he shows to the acting teacher and like theater director to be like, look, I can actually act. It's like actually a really interestingly staged way to do Death of a Salesman, to do that scene for Death of a Salesman. I really liked it. It was good. That's just like one of the things I love about this show is they even, can be, it can like take you to so many different places when they jump into these home movies that they make. And they can have a whole different like style or flair or type of creativity to them compared to the rest of the episode.
All right.
You guys got any other thoughts on 108?
No.
Nah.
Keep going.
All right. We're moving on to 109, which is definitely I really like this premise and this title. It's My Life Through a Fisheye Lens. I think admittedly the thing I like most is the opening of this episode, which is where they're filming the movie and Jason and Melissa are like, this dialogue's terrible, Brendon. And he goes, you know what? It's not the dialogue. You know what it is? It's we need a fisheye lens.
Right. He immediately goes to the lens, which I remember this episode as a kid because this is how I learned what a fisheye lens was. That is how early in my life I watched home movies, to the point where I didn't know what a fisheye lens was until they brought it up on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it is like a gimmicky thing, it's like it's a gimmicky thing. And I love when he goes to buy, he's looking at the fisheye lens at the store, and he and Melissa are like looking through and they're like, it makes everything look funny. Isn't that cool, Jason? And Jason's like, well, yeah, I don't think you should buy this.
He doesn't give a fuck, man.
Because a fisheye lens is kind of a tired device. It's rather hackneyed. I just like it. I think it's funny when Jason just shows like I think there was another, I don't remember what episode it was, but there's another one where he's just like, I read like The Art of Film by Scorsese or whatever, like something like that. He's like he's actually pretty studied up. He like knows his shit. It's very funny. Yeah, you guys, Tariq, what do you think about this one?
So I like this one. It's not like crazy high or nothing like that, but I do like it. I think it might be on the middle lower end, but I got a couple of things. So number one, this is the one where which is kind of a lasting thing. It kind of intros Paula's money trouble, she brings all the kids out to
go
get
to get ice cream.
Right, and then the lady says, okay, yeah, it would be $10, and Paula doesn't fucking have $10. Why did Paula leave the house without $10?
I know,
that was my thing about it. Why the fuck did Paula leave the house without $10?
Also, they're gonna take back all the ice cream. They're just gonna reserve that ice cream.
Yeah, man, it's fucking. And then Jason keeps his. That's so fucking.
And then at the end, he's so full because I should have just got a single instead of a triple.
Jeez, man. Fucking. So in order to get the Fish Islands, Brendon goes to get a job, and he goes to work for Eric, and he shreds every fucking document. No human being on the planet would do some shit like that. Every fucking document. That's hell. That's hell on earth. And my last note about it is a line between I think it's between McGurk and Brendon, I think. Because I think they were doing the soccer game and they tied. And Brendon goes, isn't a tie the same thing as like kissing your sister? And McGurk says, yeah.
McGurk. Yeah, there's some good stuff in this one. Deli, what do you think about My Life Through a Fisheye Lens?
It's pretty good. I don't want to repeat that like 50 other times, but yeah, I mean it's pretty solid. It's a lot more like the situational fluff that the show was like revived for, and it works out because it's all just like funny shit.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this one. You guys want to move on?
Let's move on. I ran through my notes.
All right, we're going on to 110, School Nurse. Introduces the school nurse, played by Jen Kirkman, who is a funny comedian. And this one has some really funny stuff, but also, oh boy, is like, it's so hard to watch the McGurk sequences. He's so cringy in this. When he gets super wasted on their date.
Yeah, he gets super drunk.
He starts yelling about his mom.
Yeah, the design is nuts, man. The way they draw him when he's fucking drunk is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And like literally she's giving him no signs whatsoever. She's like, I'm gonna just drink this soda. I'm gonna have one soda. And
yeah, like, all the way back to the drive back, she just kept pushing her.
Yeah.
She had to like practically push him out of the car for it to end.
Yeah.
And then he came back and he was like, well, listen, I think that went pretty well.
I felt that you did too. So
the one of my favorite moments in the date is like, obviously she's been giving him all these like signs that it's like, oh, this is going to be a nobody. And then she's like, he's getting really wasted, and she's just like, oh, I'm getting pretty tired. And he goes, yeah, but you're gonna stay, right? Like, we're in this for the long haul. Just completely oblivious. It's so funny. But yeah, I literally, one of my notes is just McGurk is the creepiest. He's so creepy. But I also love Jason in this. Jason is so funny with his crush on the nurse. Like he's super funny in it. And I also think it's kind of funny that like he's the only one that the nurse is not just like fed up with. Like she's got some stuff about him. She's like, all right, Jason.
Yeah.
Like, but she's mostly not fed. Like she's fed up with Brendon faking his sickness. She's fed up with McGurk. And like she's also, I think, not really as fed up, but also not really having Lynch's advances either, but Jason is the one who she's just like, she's always laughing around Jason and like very supportive of Jason, giving him advice. It's cute. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in the end, Jason's like kind of the one who does make the best impression at the end. She's just like, when you're 30, we can go out.
Yeah. And he was like, wait, so that means you'll be 60. And she's like, yeah. He said, I don't want to do that.
That's so funny. Oh man.
I don't know why, but that scene of Brendon on the couch with Paula, I found that like the funniest shit ever.
Oh, is that the one where she like hurts him on accident and he gets really upset?
Cry?
Yeah.
Is that this one?
Okay. He's gonna cry and he's just like sick out of his head and she's like, Brendon, listen, Brendon. Let's talk about this. He can barely follow what's going on. So his eyes like they like curve up in a very specific way. It's like
it's funny. Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah, agreed. It's funny because I can't think of another scene like that in the show. It is really funny, but it's like I don't know. There's some kind of charm to it because it feels very genuine. Like it feels very genuine to a child parent experience where like just trying to have fun and then the kid gets like overly upset about something that's not that big a deal, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's cute. I love that scene. All right, you guys want to move on to the next one? You got any other thoughts on this one?
I like how chaotic the ending is. Everybody ends up in the nurse's office. I think that shit is really funny.
Yeah, McGurk just like insisting that they're dating after his miserable failure of a date with her.
Oh, and that's something that I wrote is that they realize how funny McGurk and Lynch are together pretty quick because they pair them together a lot later. But I
love them paired. Yeah,
they're really funny together.
One of my favorite, this is later, but one of my favorite episodes is the one where McGurk's trying to convince Lynch to like get in on a timeshare with him. I can't, or like go on vacation with them or something.
No, it was some like fucking, and it's like, I just remember watching that as a kid, being like, "Man, what the fuck is Lynch doing?" Lynch actually gets sucked into it at a certain point.
He entertains the idea through, but
he does.
But their like dynamic is very funny. Where like like Lynch, he goes along with it, but he's just he's kind of fed up with like McGurk as a person. So he's just like, look, if this is gonna happen, we need to do this, and this, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I also really like the episode where they find themselves on a cruise ship and McGurk is actually, he's actually owning in the casino, but when they have to cash out, he and Lynch go crazy. And there's this guy that hands out the chips. And he was like, come on, you just got to give it to me.
I'm so excited to keep going through this show. This is a good one. All right, let's move on to 11, mortgages and marbles. Which we mentioned this one before, but I really like I love the opening and like the whole kind of inciting incident of this is like Brendon. This is the first time we really see Brendon and Josie, like him like trying to be a brother to Josie and like interact with Josie really. And it's cute. He's like, he's not doing a good job, but he's trying his best to like understand kids and so he can connect with his sister. And then, she shoves some marbles up her nose.
Say marble. Say marble. Marble.
My favorite thing in this episode is the rock song, that Dwayne's song about not putting marbles in your nose. It's a really good song. Anytime they have Dwayne do like the rock opera style like songs about stuff that's happening in these, they crack me up a lot. This one is just funny. This one I just think is funny through and through. You guys, Tariq, what do you think about this one?
So when I was watching, I felt like this one was like all over the fucking place. Like there was a lot of shit going on. I'm like, man, what the fuck? But and so I think that might be why I think it might be on my lower. But I still did like it. It's really fucking McGurk and Eric centric. Like it's we spend way more time with them than we do anyone else. One quote written down. Because I did think it was really funny because it was a funny back and forth when they're trying to fill out the application. And Eric's like, okay, so yearly income? And McGurk says,
2 million.
He says, "What is it?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I'll do all right." It's like, no, answer him. What's the number? I'll do all right.
I really like the stuff between Eric and McGurk in this one. Like him trying to help McGurk find a house, and then McGurk putting in one offer and then immediately getting rid of his apartment. It's so funny.
So I went up to the landlord and I mooned her.
and then one of I think my biggest laugh, it's when Eric's telling him how bad of an idea that was. Like, you shouldn't have done that. And he's just like, while he's telling him it, he's laughing at him on the phone. He's like laughing at McGurk having done that on the phone. It's like, I was like, oh, it seems like that was a bad decision. Deli, what do you think about this one?
I think it's my favorite of the season.
Wow.
It's just the right mix of everything. I know it's stupid, but it's very funny. It's charming. It started and ended exactly where you want it to be, and I think it's just it feels very Adult Swim. I think it just fits. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah, I really like this one. I think it's good. I mean, the truth is that there's not really any this season I didn't like. Like, I just like this show. But yeah, this one's it's funny. Like, I think so many, I had a hard time ranking this season because like almost every episode has something that I think back and I'm like, that was really smart, or that was a really funny exchange, or that was a really smart, like, home movie, or that was like, that song ruled, you know what I mean? And the show is so lax that, like, when I'm watching it all just like flows together. You know what I mean? Like, I watched the whole season and I'm just like, this is all one thing in my brain for a while. But it's good. You guys got any other thoughts?
There are definitely episodes that I would choose to watch over others, but I don't know if there are any, like, in the stretch of the show that are, like, genuinely bad or just like don't live up to expectation.
Yeah, there are definitely some that I like on rewatch, like when I'm just like, I want to throw on a home movies. One is I would say there's two episodes that, like, if I haven't watched home movies in a while, I'm like, oh, I want to watch a good home movies. One is Hiatus, which I think is season 2. Really good episode. And then this is oh, you know what? I thought it was, I was about to say 2 episodes, but this actually might be that episode. Isn't that the one where they start watching through all the old movies and the same line keeps coming up, which is, it's time to pay the price? They say it in every movie they make. I really like that one because you get a lot of the home movies in it. You get a lot of, like, interesting interpersonal stuff between Brendon, Jason, and Melissa, who have now, like, split to go on their hiatus. That's the one I always throw on. But overall,
you know which one I really fucking like is when they go on, like, that field trip, but they really want to shoot that movie across the street at the hotel. The fucking with the safe and all that shit. That shit is so fucking good.
Yeah. When they all converge on the coffee shop, that whole, like, exchange is so good.
That shit is funny, man. It's a good episode.
I really like I consider it a 2-parter because both episodes are related. Dad and Therapy. They're, like, in the middle of season 2.
Oh,
and season 2 is the one that has kind of an arc. Like, there's it's got more of an arc than any other season.
Because there was stuff but it picks off where this leaves off.
Yeah,
right.
Therapy especially, I think it's just very funny because it's not only, like, you know, funny in concept. It's like they're dealing with, like, a really, like, you know, condescending therapist, but it's like, you know, you get to see, you know, the natural progression of everything. You get to see how, you know, X flows into Y, and it's all very cyclical, but it's still, like, home movies. Like, the movie that they make is, like, it's literally interconnected in with the plot.
Right. Yeah, man, I can't wait to talk about season 2 soon. Season 2 rules. All right, let's, you guys got any thoughts on Mortgages and Marbles, or should we move on? All right, 112 is Law and Borders. The first thing I love about this episode is just the way they do this opening scene of Brendon getting hit by the car. I really like how it's directed and staged. Like, I just like, it's all black and white. It's like a very different tone than any other home movie. You almost at first I was like, oh, is this one of their movies? And then it's just other characters, you know what I mean? So it's like, it was really unique. And then I really liked the sound design after Brendon gets hit. And they start doing like the flashes in and out with the like heartbeat. And there's like he opens his eyes and he just sees his bike mangled and the wheel is spinning and you just hear the squeak of the wheel. Yeah, it's like, I think it's really creatively, I think the opening sequence is really creatively done. And also it's all black and white except for Brendon and the car, which is interesting. Yeah. What do you guys think? Tariq, what do you think about Law and Borders?
So my first note is that, which is a scene I forgot about, but when they're trying to come up with like a good bit, and Jason is like doing that thing about ask and ax, but he just keeps it fucking going, and then Melissa just continuously loses interest. She's like, see, you start off really strong, but you keep doing it over, and they start arguing about comedy. It's so funny.
Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot too. Deli, what do you think about this one?
It's pretty strong. Every time the judge is on screen, there's always going to be that calamitous moment where everything, kind of just combusts. And when, at the tail end, of course, Brendon's just like fed up with the whole justice system. And he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I have learned nothing from this experience. It's like, we're done here.
And I think it's funny that they fucking argue about, like, they not argue, but they talk about like Tron in court. Like the reason I got hit by the car is because I was trying to remember the fucking guy from Tron.
I also think like the judge is funny, and then also like the cop is a surprisingly funny character. He keeps saying the wrong charge for like, I can't remember what he says with Brendon first, and he's like, oh wait, no. But the funniest is at the end after McGurk doesn't do the essay that he's assigned, and he goes and he goes to McGurk's and he's like, yeah, you're under arrest or whatever, and he's like, what did I do? He's like, what for what? He goes, murder one. He goes, oh wait, no, you didn't do an essay that the judge assigned you.
There's another part where he shows up to the house to get Brendon, and then he says that like he's looking for Brendon because he's under arrest or some shit. Like he has to go to court, I think. And then Paula's like, what? Like, really? You sure? And he says, did I stutter? And she says, nah, but you lisped a few times.
That's great. Yeah, this one has some really funny stuff. Also, I love Brendon's video essay where he just basically makes a movie explaining why it's not his fault at all.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Like he hasn't learned anything. Oh man. This is also the one with that introduces Stephanie, who comes back a few times, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like a funny subplot. That's a weird subplot where she just like she brings home some random dude while she's staying with Paula.
Yeah. The wildest part to me is when she broke all her damn dishes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that shit is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something I didn't fucking bring up earlier. Paula, majority of the times we see Paula this season, she's talking on the phone. Who the fuck is Paula talking to?
Oh yeah, that's true. It's just a device they use to have her have a one-sided conversation. That's really interesting. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
I don't know who she's talking to.
It's actually smart though. It's a smart way to, because if she needs to talk about stuff, like she needs to talk about stuff to convey to the audience, but it's not necessarily stuff she would just say to Brendon, right? Mm-hmm. And so like that is kind of a smart, just simple way to be like, to get the information across to the audience without having to over explain it. Yeah.
All right.
You guys any other thoughts on Law and Borders?
I have that the baby looks insane without glasses, but that's it. The baby just has like the little fucking lion eyes. I hate that shit. I was like, jeez.
Oh man! All right, you guys want to move on to the finale?
Let's do it. Let's go to Brendon's choice.
Brendon's choice. I really like the premise of this one. They win a young filmmakers film festival, which is cool. Like, it makes sense because, like, you know, granted that their movies are very silly, like they're still 8-year-old children, so you know,
exactly.
It's impressive. The stuff they do is very impressive. I love how much the interviewer is reading into the movie, and Brendon's just like, well, it's well, if you put peanut butter in a horse's mouth, it looks like they talk. He's just not, he didn't put any thought into it, into the greater themes, and the interviewer is just like, you guys really saying something here, which is really funny to me. Yeah, Deli, what do you think about Brendon's choice?
It's really funny how they spend literal days like following these 3 relatively boring children around, yeah. And then, you know, she was like, oh yeah, you know what, you're really onto something here. And she gave them like 4 sentences and barely included any of their footage.
Yep.
Right.
Even they knew they got robbed. Which was so funny.
Totally. Yeah, I really like that. It's Tariq, what do you think about Brendon's choice?
I think this is a great idea for the finale. I do just kind of think the episode is fine, but
it's a little meandering.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, I def agree. I feel like anything with Brendon's dad is what piqued my interest this time around.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like when they ask like about his dad. When he's getting interviewed, she asks if his dad's creative, and he just like freezes. Yeah. I thought that was really fucking interesting. You know what I mean? Like,
agreed. Yeah, he's just like, it was like he hadn't even entertained it, and it's like this whole new part of his brain was opening up and being like, wait, what?
I think that's part of why like it felt like it was like dragging, because the whole you know, like undertone of the episode was, of course, that, you know, like his dad isn't around, but he's kind of looming in the background somewhere. Even if he doesn't see him, he still kind of feels like the impact of that. And it does kind of, you know, affects the interview a little bit. Mm-hmm. In a way, it does give him pause. And of course, the last 2-3 minutes or so, which was really interesting, when, you know, Paula tells him, you know, your son is going to be on TV. You better go catch it. And
right. And then he calls.
He calls like right after it's done.
Yeah.
And Brendon just stares at it and kind of lets it ring up until the very last second where he picks it up. But we don't hear the phone call. Which
is a great ending. It's a really
an interesting way to end it.
Great way to end the season. I really like the moment when he's trying to ask his mom about his dad. He's just like, and he's like, he's having such a hard time verbalizing it. He's like, remember that guy?
The guy.
Yeah, who used to live here but doesn't anymore, like, you know, or whatever. It's it's just like you can tell how apprehensive. And this is like, I know we were talking earlier in the season about how timid and like seemingly timid he was in those first few episodes, and this is the episode where it kind of brings it back with like a real purpose, you know, like he really feels like it really kind of trips him up, like this whole like having to think about his dad and figure it out and like ask, and like even finding the courage and way to ask about his dad he has a hard time doing it. I think it's really good. I think that stuff is definitely what makes this episode work when it works.
Yeah, that's definitely, exactly. This is exactly how I felt watching it. I thought, like, because before it got to because it does take it, like Deli said, it takes a while to get there. So before it gets there, I just kind of was like, okay, I could see why they're doing this. This is a finale thing. They finally, like, they're talking about their films, you know, people recognizing it, like that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think they do take it to to a really interesting place. And also, paying attention to the animation in this one, the models are really, really close to season 2 here. It's still
really?
squiggle vision. Yeah, but
I'll
like
take a closer look.
There's a very specific 3/4 view that they draw Brendon in for like most of the show that barely is in this season, but they do it here, and I remember catching it like, oh, this looks like later.
Like, for sure. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's cleaning it up, cleaning stuff up a little bit.
Good shit. This is a good this is just, I just love this show. Like I don't it's so interesting. I remember as a kid, I remember seeing this show when I was young and just very much writing it off because I was like, oh, this animation looks bad and I don't know if I care about this. And then like it took me years to give the show a proper shot, and I'm so glad I did, because it's just, there's not, I can't think of any show like it.
Yeah, you know? Right.
And that's rare. Like it's rare when there's not, when you can't even think of a single show to compare it to. Not even the stuff that these guys made afterwards is that comparable to this.
Yeah. It's popular enough to like have penetrated the zeitgeist a bit, but not popular enough that everyone was trying to replicate it like 5 years later.
Right.
So
Totally.
It's in a good spot. 'Cause the studio that produced it, they produced a bunch of different stuff, after it. Even if they used some of the same techniques. Word Girl, exactly. That was the last thing they did, and then they got capped. But they did Hey Moni.
Hey Moni.
They did O'Grady. Yeah.
We should do Hey Moni on here, by the way.
I don't know that one.
That one would be pretty good.
It's pretty much just Black woman home movies. It's pretty fucking funny.
Pretty much.
Well, I love home movies. This sounds great.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah. And it takes place in Chicago. All right, let's do it. Yeah, this is a fun show. I obviously the show, it's so interesting, and like I would recommend anyone who likes the show to go check out Deli's video about it. Because they really go through the whole history of the show, and it's so interesting how the show changes season to season. But I still feel like even though they really changed and experimented with how they make the show over the course of its life cycle, it all still felt like it really maintained its identity to me. And that's, I don't know, it's like when I think about home movies, I do think about season 2 is like the one that I love, but like I think about the show as a whole and how much I like the series. Like it's just a good series through and through. And yeah, I think this is a strong first season. They really even though this season itself almost has dual identities between the more improvisational nature of the UPN stuff and then the slightly more scripted stuff that came to Adult Swim. It's just, yeah, it's cool that a show can change so much but still maintain its sense of self. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you guys got any other thoughts on season 1 as a whole before we go on to doing a ranking? Deli, did you rank? I don't think I forgot to. I always keep forgetting to tell our guests to rank episodes.
I didn't. I mean, I don't feel like it's something I could do on this. No, I mean it's fine, man. I'm kind of a snob. I'm always like, man, rankings. Nah, they're too simple. It's not something that I could do like off the top of my head because I wouldn't know where to place number 13 or even number 1.
No, I know. I kind of agree. Like I had more trouble this time doing a ranking than ever before. Because I don't know. Maybe it's just the nature of this show. I did have a hard time with it this time. But you know what? You don't have to rank if you don't want to. We can just talk about. I wrote down a ranking. Tariq, you got a ranking too, I'm sure. So
I can give you a top 5 at least.
Let's do that. That
I consider. Mm-hmm.
Do we? Do you guys have any other thoughts on the season as a whole before we do the rankings?
Good shit.
That's right.
Good shit.
Cool. I'll go first.
Let's do it.
And again, this was very hard, and even my lowest ranked episodes have stuff I love about it, and even some of my lower ranked episodes have some of my favorite things in the season in an otherwise otherwise episode that was like not that I didn't like as much. Like Brendon's Choice is kind of low on my list, even though I love the stuff with his dad so much. But the episode itself is like, you know, I liked those parts of the episode more than I liked the episode overall. So it's like, this is a hard one, but we'll see what we could do. Number 13, Get Away From My Mom, the first one. 12, My Life Through the Fisheye Lens. 11, Yoko. 10, I Don't Do Well in Parent-Teacher Conferences. 9, Brendon's Choice. 8, Law and Borders. 7, Mortgages and Marbles. 6, School Nurse. 5, It Was Supposed to Be Funny. 4, Method of Acting. 3, Brendon Gets Rabies. 2, The Art of the Sucker Punch. And 1, Director's Cut.
Damn, we only line up once.
That's good though. But
ours is so
I actually find I find that when we end up not lining up, it's actually like for interesting reasons. And it's like, you know, and it's mostly because it's mostly on the shows where we're just like, yeah, but I like all of these. You know, like right, I like these. Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
All right. 13, Mortgages and Marbles. 12, I Don't Do Well in Parent-Teacher Conferences. 11, Law and Borders. 10, It Was Supposed to Be Funny. 9, Brendon's Choice. 8, Brendon Gets Rabies. 7, School Nurse. 6, Life Through a Fisheye Lens. 5, Method of Acting. 4, Yoko. 3, Director's Cut. 2, Get Away From My Mom. 1, The Art of the Sucker Punch.
We still had stuff that was close, though. Like we both have Art of the Sucker Punch really high up there. We both have Director's Cut pretty high up there. There's a couple things that are like you have Get Away From My Mom so high, and I have that one last. Right. I was also thinking it's funny, Deli, you said that your favorite of the season. I know you're going to do your top 5, but you said your favorite is Mortgages and Marbles. Tariq, you have it last, and I have it
at the bottom of the fucking list.
But I have it exactly in the middle. It's pretty funny. We have it literally all the way up and down.
That's true. Yeah.
Del, you want to do your top 5?
All right. I would say number 1 would probably be Director's Cut. Number 2 would probably be Method of Acting. 3 would be It's Supposed to Be Funny. 4. Probably Mortgages and Marbles, and then number 5, Art of the Sucker Punch.
Nice. We have a lot of the same stuff. I feel like I think we have the same 5 in our top 5.
I think so.
I think we do.
Art of the
That's
Sucker
crazy.
Punch is so fucking funny.
It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
It's so
funny.
Good. Shannon's just such a good character.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Oh man, this is great. I really, really enjoyed I was like, you know, honestly, watching through the season and writing notes, I was almost a little worried. I was like, this is such a different show than we've covered, and it's thinking that too. It's just like I was a little worried that like we wouldn't have as much to grasp onto and talk about, but I feel like we did really great job, like finding really interesting aspects of the show to discuss. And Deli, I'm glad we're going to have you here for all 4 seasons. This is going to be great.
I'm glad to be here.
Glad to hear that. You guys, you want to, Deli, you want to do any plugs before we wrap it?
Well, obviously the Wacky Deli on YouTube, Deli Wacky on Twitter for stupid takes and art. I also have a Patreon.
That's right.
If you watch the home movies joint and you really like it, you know, consider going over there, you know, helping your favorite cartoon dog out. That's pretty much it.
Hell yeah. Well, we're very glad to have you here, and we're excited to have you back next time and the time after and the time after. Tariq, you got anything to plug this week?
No.
All right.
Not at all.
Well, I guess I'll just say we still have the Cartoons That Curse After Dark Patreon. We've recorded our second Shrek episode, which will be up by the time this releases. So there will be 2 bonus episodes available on our Patreon at that point, Shrek 1 and 2. Take a look at that if it interests you. And, you know, before too long, we're going to have a huge library of bonus episodes on there. So it'll almost be impossible to say no. And I don't have anything else to plug. So with that, I want to say thank you to Michael Yunez for producing and editing our podcast. Thank you to Kerrifique for our amazing artwork. Thank you to Jakeneutron for our theme song. Thank you to Tariq for being my co-host. Thank you to Wacky Deli for being our guest. And of course, thank you, audience, for listening or watching along.
Thank you, Johnny.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Johnny.
You're welcome. And also, thank you very much. See you next time.